Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, entitled Mother Tries to Cut in Line, Gets a Lesson in Supermarket Etiquette. The second story, Pay Cut Drama. From unfair layoffs to a year of compensation, my sweet victory. The third story, engineer outsmarts startup, how pushing back on micromanagement led to a $22K victory. The first story is, EM try to lie and manipulate her way to the front at checkout counter. A little background, I work and live in Dubai, and most of the time I shop from Carrefour close to my apartment in here. That's closest thing to Walmart in here. I've seen Carrefour in France as well. Since close to 90% of the people living in here are expats who work and lives in here, evening hours in the supermarkets and malls can get pretty crowded. This happened 3 weeks back, so I was getting some groceries on a Sunday evening after work. The queue for cashier in the evening was pretty long. Fun fact, Sunday we work here in UAE. Weekends are Friday and Saturday. Since I'm living alone and I hardly cook, I had around 14 items, which is mostly the snacks I indulge my evenings on. So I was there getting close to the cashier. There was just another guy in front of me with a shopping cart full of stuff, and I was on my phone taking to a friend. "Excuse me, mister." I heard someone talking to me close to my left ear. I told my friend to hold and turned around. There was this EM with a kid. Now this kid is not an entitled kid by any means. She's too young even to say something. I told my friend on the phone that I'll call later since it wasn't anything important. Me, "Yes, ma'am?" EM, "You mind if we go before you? We're in a hurry." And EM looks 40, points to the basket in kid's hand. It's a small basket with some chocolate and a color book. So I look at the 8 or 9 people behind me in the line, and no one seems to have a problem judging from their face. Me, "Sure, no problem. You can go ahead." Now, EM doesn't say thank you, which doesn't matter to me anyway. She cuts in the line. The guy currently at the checkout is swiping his card and cashier is bagging the stuff. EM suddenly turns around and waves her hands and starts yelling. EM, "EK, come over here. Here." Surprised as me, everyone in the checkout counter turned around only to see the EK, with a trolley full of stuff. Literally more than 100 different items for sure. Everyone in my line combined wouldn't have that much stuff to check out. Me, "Excuse me, miss. I was under the impression that you had 2 or 3 items to check out. But this is a bit too much, and I can see no one in the line would approve of that. Most of us have been waiting here for over 15 minutes. EM, "What are you saying? I was here before you." I was genuinely shocked. I was like, WTF? Me, "No, you weren't." I was a bit confused. Like, she was there and told me to hold the place or something and I didn't notice because I was on the phone? Now already a couple of people are having big trolleys on the checkout counter, which is pretty narrow. It's 2 in line in the middle and 2 checkout counters in the both side kind of setup. So EK, about 14, comes by pushing the cart through the line in a forced manner. Like literally he was not giving a D and doing it by force. So there's one bald guy, BG. He was on his phone all the time. I thought he didn't care or he didn't even notice the whole thing. But he just so happens to stop the cart by holding it when EK was trying to squeeze it past him. BG, "You're not gonna cut the line, not today." EK, "Mom, this a-hole is stopping me." Now the EM storms past me and goes to the BG. EM, "Who the F you think you are?" BG, "Look, these people are nice. Might let you get away with your BS, but I'm not gonna let it happen. And you need to teach your little SH some manners." EM, "I was in the queue ahead, a-hole, and don't you dare preach me on parenting." BG, "No you weren't." EM, "Ask that guy." Me, "No you weren't. You happened to trick us into thinking you got 2 items then cut through the queue. Then you're being a really SH person about it." This time I was sure that she wasn't in the line before me just by looking at her face. It was literally the face of someone who thinks themselves as I'm so smart, rest of the people are stupid, so I can get away with anything. EM, "I was there before you, a-hole. Weren't you staring at my A pretending on the phone all the time?" Me, "Now that's it. You're not going to get on this queue or any queue today without waiting your turn, B." I would have stared at a pack of sour candy than her, and I hate those candies. I really wish that I could have come up with this line there at the moment. So we hold the queue and call the manager. To my surprise, everyone else was calm and supportive. And one guy actually said like, maybe it would have been much quicker if we let her first, but let's wait and get this crazy woman sorted out. After a few minutes, the manager shows up. Manager, what's the problem? EM, I was on the queue first and these two are not letting my kid through. Pointing at me and BG. Another guy on the queue. BS, she was cutting the line saying she only has 2 items, and her kid showed up later with a truckload. Manager just looked at everyone to see the nodes to confirm his words. Manager then asks the cashier and she confirmed the same. EM, these people are effing lying. Manager, it's safe to assume that you were cutting the queue, then assuming everyone else is lying, ma'am. So you have to step out of the queue and start in the end of any queue. EM, BS, turned towards me. You effing liar. And she tried to grab my phone. Maybe to break it? I don't know. I withdraw my phone and hand out a reflex. Manager, that's it. You're done in here. We don't want you in here anymore. Apparently they can ban customers inside a store. So EM was removed immediately by the security and the manager apologized to everyone for the trouble. The whole thing took about 20 minutes of everyone's time and that was it. Ah, how fun to read about how the entitled mother tried to cheat everyone and get her son ahead in line. Yes, of course, she always has some special superpower to bend the rules and demand that everyone adjust to her wishes. How nice that this time her plans fell through and she had to leave the store. Bravo for you and others in line for staying firm and not letting her pass. And of course, thank you to the kind man among you who stopped this crazy attempt to disrupt the line. After all, you can't just barge in and slip your rules in, can you? And what a shock to the entitled mother when she discovered that people weren't going to give in to her aggressive demands. And of course, bravo for the store manager and staff for taking drastic action and kicking this woman out of the store. We all need to know that rules are there not to be circumvented, but to be enforced. Entitled moms need to learn the lessons that you can't just break societal norms and demand that everyone around you adjust to their wishes. The second story is, job docked my pay due to lack of customers. Now they have to pay me for a year. Not the biggest win, but it sure put a grin on my face. I did a work-for-hire customer service job where I did chats, phone calls, and emails. I did this job for 3 years and I was the only person in the entire customer service department. Job was great at first, but it very quickly became obvious that there was absolutely no communication between anyone. For example, I was hired by the CEO and she shared my screen and watched me do a few customer service tickets and then said she'd be right back, and then I didn't hear from anyone for 2 weeks. No one else knew who I was or that she finally had hired someone for customer service, not even her business partner / CFO. But they were all so happy to see me because we've had a customer service problem for so long. Should have been a huge neon sign right there. I put up with it because they paid decently well, but then they started paying me late and saying they could do that as long as we pay you within 7 days. Then instead of direct deposit, I started getting my checks through apps like Venmo or Cash App. When I asked why and expressed frustration at having to wait an additional 2 days to get my check or pay to get it instantly, I was told, "We don't have to release that information to you." Then customer complaints ramped up. I mean really ramped up. I went from getting maybe 15 email complaints a week to 20 to 30 a day. Customers weren't getting their orders at all. Turns out there was drama in the warehouse. Stuff was stolen, and we had nothing to send to customers. And my bosses had all known about this issue for weeks but didn't tell me. I found out when customers started coming to me asking about their orders. Some of them had been waiting literal months when I had been told the orders had shipped out already. I had to chase my boss down for days to finally get an explanation, and she didn't have a reason why she didn't tell me. I informed my supervisors that orders had been marked as shipped when they were never sent, and we needed to look into it ASAP. Nothing was done and I was told, "Don't give out any refunds no matter what, because we can't afford it." I told my wife about this and began looking for another job, but I didn't want to quit without something lined up. We'd recently had to empty our savings account due to medical issues on my part, and I was at least getting paid something. And then I noticed my next paycheck was low, which was odd. I had a set schedule and hours, so I knew how much my check was each week. When I saw money missing from my check, I logged in, kept chats and phones off, and refused to work until someone explained to me why I had money missing from my check. I called the CEO, CFO, married business partners, my direct supervisor, even other employees, who had no money missing from their checks, and finally I was told why. Boss, well, on date we didn't have any customers for 2 hours, and on date there were no chats all day, so we're not paying you for those hours, and we're not going to pay you if you're not actually working, meaning talking to a customer. Me, so if there are no customers all day, I will not be paid for that day even if I was clocked in for the full 8 hours? Boss, correct. And they were dumb enough to put that in writing in a private chat, which I immediately screenshotted and emailed to my personal email. I sent in my letter of resignation with my wife's support and quit that day. And then I filed for unemployment. While I do live in the US and usually the rule is if you quit, no benefits for you, I'm lucky. I live in a state where you do get benefits if you prove you quit for a reasonable reason. The screenshot proved they were docking my pay, which was illegal. They had to pay me the salary they didn't. I have full UI benefits for minimum a year, which my old job also has to pay for, and lots of time to spend with my wife and focus on my health. At least I'm finally getting paid on time. ETA. Just double check the paperwork and payments. They only had to pay me a lump sum of what they owed me, with a little extra for fees. Would have been nice if I'd gotten a full year's pay though. Oh, what a story. Sometimes justice really is sweet. Employers seem to have tried to fool you by cutting your paycheck due to lack of clients. And even though they would succeed, but alas they were out of luck. I wonder how they could have thought it was legal. Obviously they didn't have a good understanding of labor laws. And what a pleasure to see that your determination and instant action led to their own admission of their mistake in the chat room. How did you manage to do that? By completing your work and filing for unemployment, you not only got the amount you owed, but you were also entitled to unemployment benefits for a full year. What a stroke of luck. Your former employer has probably now regretted not providing you with proper benefits and holding you back from acting illegally. Now you have more time to spend with your wife and take care of your health, and your former employer will have to pay for his mistakes. In the end, justice has been served and it's truly satisfying. The third story is, startup micromanages new employee, gets owned into the next dimension. Backstory for context, I'm an experienced engineer who recently took a new job at a startup. After joining the team, I was given a number of tasks to work on. No problem, but the tasks were large features involving things I'm an expert in, and they obviously did not have a lot of the prerequisites in the codebase for these features they badly needed. So I was in a catch-22 of doing them poorly and being blamed for their poor implementation, or spending extra time to lay the groundwork and do them correctly. I chose the latter as I have found in my experience it leads to better outcomes. I was told do whatever you need to do to improve the codebase. Sure, great, no problem. A month in, I'm being micromanaged heavily and told I need to be working 100 hours a week to produce these features. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because I have other things I'm interested in doing, and the pay's not really good enough to get me to do that. As the micromanagement increases, I push back on it and do less. Classic technique to prevent micromanagement. Out of the blue, I get a morning invite with my manager and the head of HR. I get told I'm not meeting expectations as an employee. I tell them they're not meeting my expectations as an employer either. They say they want to separate employment with me, and I say, all right, fine, I don't care. They say this as if I'm naughty boy and I will care. Paperwork rolls through and I'm told I need to pay back my signing bonus, $10K. I say firmly, no, I won't be doing that. They don't realize the language they used in their employee contracts specifies repayment only upon termination for cause or resignation, neither of which applies to me. The HR woman sheepishly says through email, oh well, I guess you don't need to pay that back after rereading your employment agreement. So for a month of work, I got an extra $10K on top of my salary, free $2K laptop, no separation agreement or NDA, benefits, and my salary up until the day they fired me. I'll also be applying for unemployment. Total value of their F-up and inability to read contracts, $22K. The taste of their delicious tears when they realize they can't push me around, priceless. Oh yeah, some classic justice right here. I feel the sustenance of this post reinvigorating my thirst for the blood of the wicked. Vengeance, resist, awesome. By the way, I'm always deeply impressed with organizations that know they need a certain level of expertise to accomplish the goals. Hire that person and then do everything possible to prevent said expert from actually applying their knowledge to the assigned task. So stupid. Subscribe, click the like button if you want to support the channel. Thank you for watching.